Welcome to podcast episode 3. Today I have Michelle Angel Cook with me, and I will be interviewing her. She is one of my dear friends, and she has gone through an awakening process. So
just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple. For starters, what kind of business are you doing now?
So it's been an evolution. It has kind of evolved from, actually 20 years ago, I started mentoring. And then, I started a kind of a brick and mortar type of business. Then I got back into kind of the spiritual type realm. Started doing some readings in human design. And then just recently launched my coaching brand, Femergy. Femergy, yeah.
I don't think I'm familiar with this.
Feminine energy, baby.
Oh, wow.
It's all about shifting the paradigm and kind of, just reflecting possibilities. So
nice. Yeah, so what inspired you to start this?
The inspiration was, honestly, it was more of an evolution. It kind of, I had to get really clear on what my purpose was, what my goal was. And at first it seemed really big and honestly quite unattainable, because when I say it, it just seems so crazy. It's like, when I tell people, it's like, well, I want to raise the entire conscious collective, and people are like, of the world? And I'm like, of the whole world.
Of the world.
And so when I realized that this work is possible, and it doesn't have to, I don't have to touch every single person in the world. I can just touch, a handful, and then they touch a handful. And so the ripple effect is, is kind of what I'm going for here. So really what I want to do is inspire and work with other light leaders who then can take that information and pass it along to their people, and then they can take it and pass it along to their people. So it will kind of encompass the world. But it was really hard for me to grasp that and to see that coming into fruition. And then when Femergy kind of evolved, I was like, yes, because as we see this shift happening with the masculine and feminine energies coming into balance, it has been just so inspiring and so awesome. So that's where Femergy came from.
Wow. This is all new information.
Yeah.
How long have you been working on this?
Well, so it's been months, but it's just been rolling around. It's just been rolling around my head and trying to figure out what does it look like? Because I am a person that I need that visual. I need to see, what is this going to look like? And for so long, I thought what it looked like was going to be that I needed to have millions of followers and I needed to touch all these millions. And then when I realized that it didn't have to be that way, it was so much more attainable. And I was like, okay, I can definitely touch 200 people. 200 people, no problem. 300, maybe. So it's just, getting that ball rolling and, kind of just starting from somewhere. And you have to start from somewhere, right?
You do.
So
I feel like getting clear on your message is really important too.
Yeah, for sure. And human design has helped me so much in understanding that purpose and that higher calling. And the thing is you can choose to accept it or you don't have to. And it was for me, it's like, how do I step into that power? How do I step into that purpose with with this understanding, with this knowledge, and what does it look like? So again, it was really hard to figure out what it looked like.
So are you pulling human design into the Femergy?
Yeah, absolutely. So it will definitely be a basis, just because of the work that I've done in energy has been so instrumental for me and my coaching business and my clients. Energy is the basis for all the coaching that I do. It always has been. I just never realized it. And so, as I'm putting practices and the work into the coaching with energy, it's grown and evolved into kind of what it is now. So yeah,
that's incredible.
It's just an evolution.
Everything's an evolution.
Right, until it comes to fruition and you're like, oh, here it is.
Yeah, didn't even know.
Right, didn't even know. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah.
That's great.
The whole conscious collective. We're the whole world, girl.
Well, and one of my dear friends, she is kind of like a sloth when it comes to doing work, but she's a placeholder for that energy. And we were just discussing that the last time that I talked to her. She's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm saving space for the collective consciousness. I'm raising the energy that way. And I was like,
all
oh
have
my
a purpose.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every single one of us has a part to play in this.
Right. Because I'm a generator. So I feel like if I'm not out there working my ass off, then I'm not doing anything. And she's like, you need to relax, girl. I'm like, I know.
Yeah. But I mean, still, you have that energy within you that has the ability, like generators and mani-gens built this world. So, I mean, that is some powerful energy.
It is.
So,
it's good to find some balance, though.
Balance is always key, isn't it?
It is. All right. So what is the first awakening story that you'd be willing to share? How did this all come about?
First awakening. Well, we are going to have to transport us back to, let's see, would have been we'll talk about the first one that was like the most traumatic and like
the first one always is, I think.
The first very traumatic one, because honestly, awakenings are just a series of events that happen in your life. And what I learned through the process is that they don't always have to be traumatic, and we'll talk about that later. But the first one, I woke up in my car. It was probably 2004. I was 5 months pregnant with a then 3-year-old, and was in the midst of a separation, heading towards divorce. It was winter, so it was cold, and I woke up and it's like, I think may have made some poor life choices. It was at that moment that I'm like, I should really probably start working in here, versus I was total victim mentality. It was like, oh, why does this happen to me? Why does this always happen to me? Why can't, my ex is like, why can't he do this? Why can't he be this?
Sure.
And it was really a radical self-acceptance for the position that I was in, because it was no one's fault but my own. And, receiving that kind of universal smackdown. And it was just like, all right, this is the point where I probably need to, work on me. And, because I don't want to live in my car. I didn't want to. Right. Don't get me wrong. It was a really nice Ford Thunderbird.
But
still, we weren't there long. We did some like couch surfing, but pregnant with a 3-year-old, that's not ideal, where you have no home, you're homeless. My parents were basically, not wanting anything to do with me because I had stayed in that relationship far too long. And it's finding that self-worth to say, like, I am worth more than this. So that awakening came at a very traumatic type of way, but it was needed for that growth. And had I not went through that, I don't know where that would be. And so it was unfortunate, and we turned it around, but it was it was an awakening that was it was traumatic, because I thought, am I gonna give birth in homeless in my car with no friends, no family?
Oh my gosh.
And and when you realize, like, I'm here all alone because of choices that I've made. So
that's powerful.
That was the most traumatic. I had a series of them since then, and it was because, you get to this point where you do all this personal growth and you're like, oh, check, I'm totally done. Like, I'm so good. I actually had that thought at one time. Like, I was like, oh yeah, a smooth sailing from here on out. I thought there was like this finish line that you cross, and it's like, and the universe is like, no, Michelle, not so much. That's when I learned about Kensho and Satori awakenings, where it's like Kensho is that awakening where it's very painful, traumatic, crisis-driven, versus Satori, which is where you are pursuing the awakening. So I realized if I pursue the awakening, it doesn't hit me so hard. It doesn't hurt quite as bad. Still hurts sometimes. But the awakening, it's like when you are driving towards something, towards that destination, and it's like the universe is basically like, you can experience this one of two ways. I can give it to you in a smackdown, or you can pursue it and it doesn't have to hurt as bad. And I'm like, oh, pursue. Like, let's go the Santori route, because it's like I was kind of over the pain and the crisis and the trauma. And again, not that I'm sure it will can and will still happen, but I found when you pursue that evolution, that you're much less likely to go through the crisis and suffering. So
yeah, that's
only
helpful.
I mean, that's been my experience, but
Sure.
So I'm gonna stay on this growth route.
It seems like you can weather the crises better too.
For sure.
Because you're
Yes.
more able to step back and look at your reaction and how you're handling things and say, okay, what was my part in this?
Right.
And how can I handle this in a better manner?
For sure. Yeah. And it's like having that in your tool belt. It's like going into battle. You're much better prepared for the fight.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Because you're always going to have conflict, and there's always going to be trauma.
I would just like to, have my armor a little bit shinier and be a little bit more prepared. So,
Right.
there's that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
Okay, so how has awakening helped you navigate your life in different ways?
Ooh.
I guess we just touched on that, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's it, is being prepared, having that awareness, having that, kind of preparedness, those tools. And, I think, just pursuing growth that has become my life purpose. I'm like, above all else, no matter what's going on, I'm still pursuing growth. I'm still, whether that's in, the growth in spirituality or emotional intelligence or a 6-week boot camp. My legs are on fire. Growth, baby. So, however that comes about, it's like, I'm going to keep pursuing it because we're still here on this earth, and I'm going to make the best out of this meat suit that I really can. And
I love that term.
my husband hates it. He's like, stop calling it that, and it's gross. I'm like, well, it is what it is. Oh, well.
It's good to try and become the best version of yourself.
For sure. I mean, we owe it to ourselves.
Yeah.
We owe it to the world. And, I think when we take that soul contract, it's like, I think we sign off on that. I think when we're going in, it's like, are you going to try to be, I solemnly swear, I'm going to be the best version of a human I can be. And it's like, and then we go forth. And so I think that's part of the contract. And
think so.
A lot of times that's, we lose sight of that and we lose track of that. And I think that it's just such a win-win-win. I mean, good for you, good for me, good for the world. So,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Well, and some people, they never figure it out. Not in this lifetime. No. I mean, I have a relative that is a terrible alcoholic, and my littlest one said, why does he do this? I said, life is hard. It is not easy. I'm like, you have to be able to deal with it and face the pain and go through it. Otherwise you just hide from it in a bottle.
I've done so much work with addiction, and it's like that whole, it's almost like a disconnection from the matrix, but in a different way. It's like a disconnection, but it's like a not in a awakening type of way, but in a numbing type of way. Where
that's that's what addictions do. They numb you.
I mean, it's just totally trying to unplug, but it's not the best tool. No,
it's not.
Not so much. So.
I just recently learned, I did a podcast episode on power versus force, and addictions actually, like, they vibrate at the same level of vegetables. but it kind of shuts off your ego so that you can go to a higher consciousness at the time. But it's
Makes
like
sense.
false growth.
Right.
You know, you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
actually learning how to deal
Right.
with things in a better way.
Yeah, it's like a turn off switch. Where it's like, I'm
Sure.
still here, I'm still present, but there's no growth, there's no awakening, but you've kind of unplugged. So, and sometimes that unplugging from the pain is, it makes sense, but
Yeah, sometimes you need to. All right. So, did you share your dark night of the soul story where you were in your car?
Oh, so I mean, kind of. Even you know what? Even at that moment, because I think like what is Eckhart Tolle? Is it Eckhart Tolle? Is that how do you
Eckhart Tolle?
Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. How he describes it. What did it? I think I wrote it down. He says it's like a collapse of the perceived meaning in life, and even in the car. That still didn't happen because I was in that victim mentality. I was in why is this happening to me? What is, I was searching for the meaning. There has to be a meaning behind this. There has to be, this has to be happening for some reason. And I think really it's like, for me, the experience of the dark night of the soul is like, it's like a pendulum swinging from complete and utter meaningless to complete and utter alive consciousness, where it's like you realize life means nothing, and then you're like, life means nothing, where it's like conceptually you can grasp that, that concept, but at the same time you look around and see life, and it's so inspiring and so amazing and fulfilling, and then you realize like we're all interconnected, we're all one, and it's amazing. Like
it's beautiful.
and I don't remember the moment that happened. I feel like it wasn't it was surprisingly it wasn't through the crisis of all of those awakenings. I think that's where I was supposed to go, but I didn't.
It takes time.
So that
it doesn't always happen like that.
Definitely does not. Thought it did, but no, it was kind of more of like this this realization that our time is so finite and limited, but yet it's not. It's like having that that realization and coming to peace with never knowing. Maybe I won't ever know the meaning or the purpose, and for me, it's just being at peace with that. Like knowing, like it's okay. Like the judgment that we place upon ourselves is so much more than the world is judging us. It's like we are judging ourselves, the meaning, the purpose of life, and it's like that pendulum keeps swinging back and forth, and experiencing the duality, releasing the duality, experiencing the duality, releasing the duality. So it's again, it's a process.
It sure is.
But I don't think it's ever been like I can pinpoint the time or the place or at least for that one. That again has been more of just kind of like an evolution. So
I love that.
So
all right. So what does energy mean to you?
Everything. I mean,
it's what we are, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything's energy. Emotion. What is it? How do they say? Emotions are energy in motion, right?
Yeah.
So it's. I think I've went in phases. Like when I really went really deep into like emotional intelligence and got really familiar and comfortable and growth in that. And so energy work for me is just. I mean, food's energy.
It is.
People are energy. Things are energy. Like, it's just so, it's so crazy, to think that we think something is so solid, and then when you really realize it's just little atoms, bumping around together, barely held together by, by sheer energy. And it's
and they have consciousness,
right? And they hold things, even inanimate objects and plants and trees, and and so many things. And then we think about like the the neutrino system flowing through the universe. Like it's just, I mean, it's mind-blowing at the same time as it's so simple. Like the simplicity of it, I think, is mind-blowing to me. And I just absolutely love energy work. I love working with energy. I love people, energy and people. Yeah, all the things energy.
That's great. How do you get your energy cleared or raised if you are feeling strong negative emotions?
That's a good one. So, gosh, before I
yeah, let's talk about the process.
Yeah, let's talk about the process.
Did you get stuck in it?
Stuck for days.
Sure.
Like days, because I didn't even...
That's the normal protocol, right? You ruminate about things.
Right. Oh, yes. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to hold on to this negative, shitty energy for as long as I can. It's like,
and it's your fault. Yeah. It's your fault I feel this way.
Definitely not mine.
No.
It's not because I'm holding a stinky bag of shitty energy. That's definitely not the reason. But yeah, no, I think and as I grow and evolve, I continue to put more tools in my little toolkit. I'm like, I learn about a new grounding technique, or I learn about a new like energy clearing technique, and one that I like, I'm like, oh, I'm saving that one. I'll put that in the toolkit. But yeah, I think before I even knew what like energy clearing was, for me, it was taking a bath and, releasing it into the water and kind of watching it drain. And that's still my go-to. Like, I still absolutely love that one.
I've never done that.
What? Oh, that's my favorite. And I love bath bombs.
Yeah.
They're so expensive.
They can be.
I mean, like, if I'm taking a bath a day, that's like, it's like what, a $28 a week habit, So,
I can see that.
So I had to learn other tools. So I can't bathe like every single day and do the whole process. But when it's a really big energy, then I'll do the bath clearing. But sometimes I just, I stand in the grass and brush off my skin. I've done a couple different like shamanic type practices. I've meditation, love meditation. Like, even if you can sneak in like a quick 5-minute, 10-minute meditation. I love walking meditations. Like, I love hiking, walking. And so I'll put, and do like a walking, because I like to be active and do the meditation.
Right.
Otherwise, when I first started meditation, I fell asleep. It was like 10 minutes in. It's like, get comfortable. And I'm like, straight asleep. So, so there's so many practices, and I think the thing with the practices is that you really have to find what works best for you. Like what, because what might work great for you may not necessarily work great for another person. And that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, you try this. If you don't like it, chuck it, try a new practice. There's hundreds of different types of meditation.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the one where, I've even done the one where you like stare at the little candle flame.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's a cool, I always forget about that one. That's a cool one. I mean, there's so many different.
Stare at a picture.
So many different kinds. And so I tell people, I'm like, experiment. That's why we're here, is to experiment with, all these things, these emotions, these energies, these feelings, these practices. And so that's what I say. I'm like, it's a giant experiment. I'm like, try what feels good in you and for you. And if that feels good, then keep it. If it doesn't, chuck it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I think energy clearing is super, super important, especially with the work that I do, because a lot of times we hold on to energy that doesn't even belong to us. And when we hold on to the energy that is not ours, especially with the empaths of the world, where they are...
The reflectors.
Yeah, the reflectors of the world. They are soaking in energy of others, and then we hold on to it, because if we feel it, we assume it's ours. And so we're like, well, we have to process this and honor this. And it's like, my first thing with my clients is like, let's question it whether or not it's yours. If it's not yours, we can immediately release it, because it doesn't belong to us. So yeah, that's kind of where we go with that whole energy work. But yeah.
Very cool. How has having a good grasp on energy helped improve your quality of life?
Oh, I think the acceptance that it's, it is what it is. It's like, I know some people hate that term, and I did for a while too, but you know, I guess it is what it is until it isn't. So
It really is.
I mean, it really is. We could go on for that for like hours. What's that? Who's on first base? What's on first base? Anyway, so it's that, you know, it's with that, I guess quality of life for me is being happy, being content, being grateful. And I think it really is a choice. You know, it's a choice to love the life that you're living no matter what the circumstances. And I've lived in my car, so you know, I can tell you that I still valued my life, and I still knew that there was more to come and that there was still so many possibilities. Was I angry and bitter? You know, I was totally angry and bitter. But as I
really love your
learned,
life at that time.
wasn't super loving my life. I mean, I was grateful, you know, that I had a car, that, you know, I was healthy and somewhat safe. I parked in nice areas.
Sometimes you have to find gratitude where you're at.
Yeah.
And just know that it's going to improve from there.
Yeah. And I think it's like that. You can be grateful even when things are not ideal. And knowing that it's just such a temporary circumstance and things will improve and get better. And
there are some days, I swear to God, my mantra is, I'm grateful I'm not going to feel this way forever.
Yes.
I'm grateful that this is going to pass.
Yes. My mantra the other day, because I'm doing the 6-week boot camp, was like, you know, even though I'm in pain and, you know, it's growth, but I was just grateful that I'm not alone, you know, and I'm grateful that I'm going, you know, that I have a community of friends and family that I can, you know, that are there to support, you know, 2 ways. So,
oh, that's awesome.
You know, sometimes it's as simple as that. Just being grateful that you have another human that's there to like commiserate with you. So
to do the 6-week
boot camp
with you,
right, girl? That's been a challenge. So
I bet. So what do you do for self-care?
Ooh, self-care. I'm all about self-care. And you know, I really think it's important for especially women, because we're told so often as young children, don't be selfish. I mean, how many times did I hear that growing up? Don't be selfish, share your toys, don't be selfish, don't be selfish, don't be selfish. And I think it has just gotten such a bad connotation or a bad rap around that, the meaning. And it's like, yes, of course, don't be selfish if it's at the detriment to someone or if it's going to hurt someone. But at the same time, if you have to say no to something because you need to preserve your energy, then that's the most important thing. Like, you need to be selfish. Like, we need to be selfish when it comes to self-care and making sure that we are the best versions of ourselves, because how can we give back? How can we change the world if we are not making ourselves a priority? And we're also teaching others how to treat us, you know? So if we're showing them that it's okay to deplete ourselves and to just completely run ourselves into the ground, other people will do that to us, because they're like, well, if she's treating herself that way, then this must be, you know, the status quo. And so I think it's super important, like self-care, and I can tell you what it means to me, what I do for self-care. But I think the bottom line is just making sure that you are the top priority in your life. And that's really hard for women that have children. And I have 3 boys. And it's hard for me to be like, okay, y'all are real important, but I am the most important, because if I'm not here, how can I care for you? And so me having to be the most important person in my life is super important to me.
And that is seen as selfish.
Yeah,
when
it
you're a
is.
mother.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's when you're a mother, when you're a wife, when you're a sister, a daughter, and you know, and those other people are have these expectations of you to do this thing or to be this person. And when you have to say, I'm so sorry. I am not able to be this person for you because I need to take good care of me first. It can be viewed as selfish, but we know that's their shit, not ours.
I love it.
And you politely say, I'm so sorry, but I need to take care of me first.
Yeah.
So when I say, being selfish to the point where you don't harm someone or hurt someone, but if you say no to someone and it hurts their feelings, again, that's their issue and not ours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, sometimes just saying no.
Yeah, saying no and
Can be perceived as really selfish, but you're like, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. And you say it nice, so sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry I made you feel that way.
Right. Yeah. So it's, it's that thing where we do have to be selfish, and I think we do have to take care of ourselves first and foremost to be able to shine our light and to
be the best version.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have any insights from this journey that you would like to share?
Oh gosh. I think, my insights, that's a good one. Follow your passion. I think it's being accepting of lofty goals. I think I felt like mine was too big. Like I felt like it was too big, and I'm like, I need to scale this down, and then I was like, screw that. Why can't I have a big goal? Like, why can't I
do little steps every day to make it happen?
Little steps, baby steps, and I think, that's my biggest, insight from this journey is that no goal is too big. We're told as kids we can be anything we want, and I mean, it really is true. We can, we can be anything we want. We can do anything, and collecting those tools and putting those practices into motion, especially at this time in the world, is just so amazing and unique. And I'm so grateful that I'm here right now to experience this, because I think the shift is going to be so astronomical and so mind-blowing and so fantastic, and I am just excited that we get to share it together. So,
me too.
All right. Love it.
Well, thank you so very much. It was great having you on the show.
You as well. I'm glad you asked me to be here.
And until next time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.